From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Well, change is happening on farms across the country.
My heart has always been in agriculture. I love what I do.
How women are helping lead the way in agriculture. The news is not good from the latest snowpack survey.
California is now facing a third consecutive year of dry conditions.
What new numbers could mean for farmers and ranchers relying on that much-needed snowmelt. That's as the winter wheat crop continues to battle drought.
You can just tell how abusive this winter's been.
We get a new look at destruction caused by a dry winter right now on AgDay. Good morning, I'm Tyne Morgan coming to you from our Kansas City studios. Clinton is on vacation. Well, USDA has just released its first winter wheat crop condition ratings of the year. At last report, the agency had said 20% of the crop was in moderate drought and 32% was in the severe drought condition category. And right now, the agency reports that only 30% of the crop is rated good to excellent, with 36% rated very poor to poor. Last year at this time, 53% of the crop was rated good to excellent, especially hard hit Texas, where 57% of the winter wheat crop is rated very poor, and just 7% is considered good. None of it is rated excellent. Well, right now, many farmers in those drought areas are facing tough decisions. Do they fertilize the winter wheat crop or just plow it under? Some farmers telling me grain buyers are offering them $10 a bushel cash for wheat, but they simply don't have a crop to give. Brian Brooks will be the first to tell you.
Yeah, you can just tell how abusive this winter's been.
A farmer in an area used to arid climate says this winter has been brutal.
The last big rain event we had was in August.
80% of the dryland wheat in this area may not make it this year, with some acres not even sprouting because it was too dry.
We've had 4/10 of moisture this year so far. And a lot of it just came, half a tenth here and just no large margin. We've had a lot of wind and it's just been very destructive on everything.
Brooks is one of many farmers facing a bleak picture in the southern high plains.
If you look at the November to February period, second driest on record behind only that 2017-18.
This map shows the ranking of moisture this fall, with areas of the Texas High Plains and southeast Colorado seeing the driest November through February on record. Wheat fields bear the scars of just how brutal Mother Nature can be.
If you look at Texas, currently more than 80% of the winter wheat crop is rated in very poor to poor condition.
Brooks seems to be in ground zero of the drought this year.
We even had events, after 50, 60 mile an hour winds, the road graders have to come out and push the sand off. It's drifting up kind of like what snow does. And it's a challenge this year. This is one of the driest years we've had since 11.
And as the weather warms up, Ben Brown of University of Missouri says we'll get a much better picture for just how poor conditions are in the plains.
And we've certainly seen with some warmer weather and some sunshine the last couple of weeks that wheat has really greened up. And a lot of farmers are out there looking at whether they're going to fertilize it and take that crop all the way to seed, or if they're going to plow it under and plant corn and soybeans.
And Brown says depending on abandonment, that could change the overall acreage picture for 2022. But for now, Brown knows there's not much that can be done to save some of this winter wheat.
We're going to continue to see elevated prices, and we're probably going to see higher prices as we move forward, just as we start to get into the spring crop growth cycle.
Well, in an effort to help livestock producers battling drought, USDA says it will provide aid to producers under the Emergency Livestock Relief Program. The program will use information from the 2021 Livestock Forage Disaster Program to make the payments to affected producers. And you don't need to sign up for the aid if you were already approved for an LFP payment. Phase 1 of the payments is expected to total $577 million, and under Phase 2, USDA will evaluate the impacts of the 2021 drought and wildfires on livestock producers to come up with a number. There will be a payment cap, but USDA has not released details on that yet. Well, drought concerns continue to grow in California, where the latest snowpack survey of the Sierras shows that this winter is just 38% of normal. State officials conducting their annual end-of-winter measurement, finding the snow depth was just 2.5 inches in one location. The average April 1st snow depth is 66.5 inches at that same location. And they say the 2.5 inches of snow, well, it only contained the equivalent of an inch of water.
With below average rain and snow statewide, California is now facing a third consecutive year of dry conditions and extending this ongoing drought. This past January, February, and March have been actually the driest period on record in the Sierra Nevada, dating over 100 years.
California's snowpack is counted on to supply about 30% of the state's water. Well, something to keep an eye on today in the northern high plains, ongoing risks for wildfires. Meteorologist Matt Urasovic has the latest.
Yeah, Tynan, that's right. We've got another day where an elevated fire risk is out there. Northern plains as well as parts of Texas and New Mexico. And you can see that map right here. But we'll zoom in on the high plains where we've got a good portion of Nebraska, North Platte, Cheyenne up to Rapid City under that elevated risk. And then Lubbock to San Angelo and El Paso, parts of New Mexico as well. Meanwhile, in the east, we've got another severe weather threat, and that system's going to be moving through the deep south, through the Gulf Coast, with another line of strong to severe storms that could produce strong damaging winds and even a few tornadoes. That will continue to move eastward through Tuesday evening and then linger some showers and thunderstorms, which could be severe in the southeast all the way through Wednesday before that severe weather threat will eventually move towards the mid-Atlantic coastline. And you can see that there. Tuesday and Wednesday, that area highlighted in red is going to be the area where we're concerned about those severe scattered storms, which could bring an isolated tornado and the potential for some damaging winds as well. And snow, still an issue in parts of the country. Nate in Del Rapids, South Dakota, sharing this video with us. Great to see some moisture, but I bet folks are ready for just plain old rain. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
Well, corn, soybeans, and wheat all taking off again on Monday due to the situation in Ukraine and China making a big buy of U.S. corn, the biggest since May of last year. USDA announcing Beijing purchased 1,084,000 metric tons of corn. Of the total, 676,000 is old crop. Another 408,000 is new. Allendale's Rich Nelson sharing this chart on Twitter of China's corn buys since September. The blue line representing this year's sales. The orange line, that's last year's, saying that as of the end of last month, China had booked just over 12 million metric tons of U.S. corn for this marketing year. Now, thanks to the latest flash sale, well, it has booked 12.8 million. And the market's continuing to watch the situation in Ukraine, where the country's ag minister says spring planting area is down 21% year over year. But farmers there continuing to press on with planting underway in 21 out of 24 regions. That's more than this time last year, thanks to better weather. Total area planted so far includes 81,000 hectares of spring wheat, more than 327,000 hectares of spring barley, and more than 33,000 of sunflowers. But the problem remains moving grain out of the country. The country reports exports last month were 4 times less than February levels due to the Russian invasion. And as a way to help make up for those acres lost in Ukraine, farm groups here at home have been pressing USDA to allow farmers to put land back into production that had been set aside for conservation. But in a letter to the National Grain and Feed, the secretary said bringing CRP acres back into production is not feasible. He says in part it's because land is in the program is not highly productive. A natural resource inventory by USDA showed only 1.3% of prime farmland is in CRP. And more than 75% of the acres are less productive non-prime farmland. He also cited concerns about drought across parts of the country. Well, Iowa is announcing 4 more commercial flocks confirmed with a deadly avian influenza. Iowa ag officials are confirming the 4 new cases of highly pathogenic avian influenza in commercial layer chickens in Osceola County, commercial turkeys in Cherokee County, commercial turkeys in Sac County, and commercial breeding chickens in Humboldt County. It's not known the number of birds impacted, but one case may have involved more than 5 million birds. Meanwhile, USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service confirmed the virus in a commercial pheasant flock in Earth County, Texas. It's now reported more than 11 million egg-laying chickens, or roughly 3% of the total U.S. flock, have died or been destroyed because of the disease. Well, we have the numbers from USDA, but what do they mean when it comes to those higher feed costs right now? I'll ask a panel of experts coming up. And later, the days of farmers and ranchers all being men, well, it's over. See how more women are taking charge in the country.
AgDay is brought to you by Germinator Closing Wheels. Germinator, it's not just any closing wheel. Reach your yield potential. Pre-order by April 30th with coupon code AgDay for $2 shipping per wheel.
here now, joined by Bill Biederman, Arlen Suderman, as well as Bob Utterback, looking at the feed cost side. I mean, Bill, when you look at commodity prices right now, on the grain side, good news for those grain farmers. On the feed side, though, there's a lot of concern right now, and some that didn't book thinking that maybe feed costs would go down. After USDA's March prospective plantings report, what do you think is the outlook for feed costs?
Well, I think that the outlook between now and mid-August, when we have a pretty good idea on yields, is going to be very high risk. So, I mean, I just want to give this one example. If we have 177 bushel like last year yield, we could have a carryover below 1 billion bushel, which would be unthinkable as far as what it could do to prices. So I think it's in the best interest of all people who use feed is to protect the upside. And on the chart, 740 is kind of a good pivot point. If you can protect a 740 number using options or things like that, that would at least give you some form of a safety valve.
Arlen, if you were a livestock producer now and trying to create a game plan when it comes to feed, what would you be doing?
I'd be looking at securing the breaks into market because I think that's what we're going to be seeing a lot of traders do is buying the breaks going forward unless we can get a much bigger crop out of South America, the safrinha corn crop, than what is currently anticipated. Our estimate for Brazil right now is one of the highest out there. And now the forecast is turning drier here in recent days for the safrinha corn, particularly the center west district, a much drier shift. April is a critical month, so we could be adding more problems to the global corn supply.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at some of this aggressive bidding that may go on just because we're still trying to wrap our heads around what's going on in Ukraine and with the Russia situation, Bob, for a livestock producer, there's always risk, but there is a tremendous amount of risk and upside potential, it seems, when it comes to some of these feed costs.
Yes, two singles I'd be watching for. After, I'd say, late April, if the December corn contracts in May starts taking out the April highs, that is a big red flag for a lot of end users. You've got to get something in protection. Option premiums are going to be pretty strong. So, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but you got to use either the board or the bull spread. Buy the front end, sell the back end. But here again, you're going to have to be pretty agile because it's going to be very volatile. If we in May start taking out the April highs, that'll be a signal that weather scare is becoming a really serious factor. And then the end users are going to scramble aggressively, and that means the front end is going to rally over the back end.
All right, thank you all very much. We need to take a quick break, and then we'll have a check of weather right here on Ag Day.
Ag Day is brought to you by Authority Supreme Herbicide from FMC. Learn more at ag.fmc.com.
Back now with meteorologist Matt Yurosavik. Matt, you're tracking a very active week ahead weather-wise.
Yeah, Ty, that's right. Again, we've got more dry weather back in the west, but another very active week, especially for severe weather in parts of the southeast. You can see right here a higher risk for some of those severe storms all the way from southern Mississippi, just north of New Orleans there, all the way through parts of Alabama, parts of Georgia, and off into the Atlantic coast. And kind of a lesser chance, but still some strong storms possible up towards Atlanta, all the way back towards Jackson and down into central parts of Florida as well. And then that severe weather threat kind of moves north a bit, but stays pretty well put right over the southeast for Wednesday. Atlanta down into central parts of Alabama, keeping it with that elevated threat for those strong thunderstorms, which could produce some strong gusty winds as well as a tornado or two. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But a couple of systems here along the south and southeast. That's what's going to cause that severe weather. Meanwhile, back here in the north, that's where we've got some rain and even some higher elevation snow as well. So here comes our storm system with that severe weather. Parts of the south through 7 p.m. More shower activity coming up into the Midwest and keeping some higher elevation snow showers possible in the west. Behind that system, it's going to get very, very chilly. You can see that snow up there in parts of the Dakotas and more rain coming into the Great Lakes as we're heading through Wednesday morning. Meanwhile, that severe weather threat starting to sweep off the coast as we head through Wednesday, but this secondary cold front here could cause more stronger storms as we head through Wednesday and even into Thursday as well. And you see the rain right here. It is going to be a lot of rain for parts of the south. The south of Atlanta could be dealing with 2 to 3 plus inches of rain from those heavier storms and more all the way up through the Great Lakes and towards the east as well. Temperatures out ahead of these systems going to be very, very warm, and then cooler air will filter in as we head towards the second half of the week. Temperatures, though, very mild out ahead of those storm systems. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Anniston, Alabama, heavy rain and breezy with thunderstorms likely, a high of 69 degrees. Fargo, North Dakota, breezy with rain likely, a high of 48 degrees. And Ellensburg, Washington, mostly sunny and windy, a high of 50.
New rules when it comes to organic dairies, plus how the seemingly simple ear tag is becoming a victim of the supply chain crunch. That's next in our Dairy Report.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
Well, a long-anticipated origin of livestock final rule was released by USDA. It is designed to make sure that certified USDA organic dairy products are produced to the same consistent standard as regular dairy. The rule was originally proposed in 2015 but was withdrawn in 2018. But in late 2019, the agency decided to reopen the comment period on the proposal. The rule allows dairy livestock operation transitioning to organic or starting a new organic farm to transition to non-organic animals one at a time. It also prohibits organic dairies from sourcing any transitioned animals. It says once a dairy is certified organic, animals must be managed as organic from the last third of gestation. Well, another issue caused by the supply chain crunch is impacting the dairy industry right now, a shortage of ear tags. While it may seem like just a small problem, Farm Journal's Dairy Herd reports the backlog of ear tags is being felt by producers across the country. That includes one dairy operation in California. Producers say they've seen the problem since November. They say with hundreds of calves on milk, identification is a must. They say they also ran out of RFID tags, which is a problem considering all their crossbred calves are custom raised at an offsite ranch that requires them. One supplier, Allflex, has a printing facility in Dallas. It says it continues to operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It says it's scheduled to be current on all data entry by the middle of this month. Well, coming up, more and more of them are taking charge on the farm. Meet some women leading the way in agriculture. That's in the country.
Closed captioning on AgDay is brought to you by BASF, helping you do the biggest job on earth.
Well, women are leading the way in the agriculture industry. 2017 census data shows they now represent nearly 40% of farm workforce. Isabel Rosales reports on the ways women are opening doors.
A change is happening on farms all over the U.S.
¿Cómo es la fruta hoy?
Heather Mulholland grew up on a third-generation family farm.
My heart has always been in agriculture.
This is her great-grandfather, who probably would have struggled to imagine one day she would run the family legacy.
I love what I do.
As COO of Mulholland Citrus in Orange Cove, California, her profession can mean anything from leading board meetings to checking the harvest.
It's an industry that's just at the knife's edge of failure. We're currently in a drought.
Census data from the USDA shows more women are calling the shots in agriculture. In 2017, women-operated farms made up a whopping 56% of all farms, and the number of women producers increased 27% compared to 2012.
At one time, that might have been a little unusual. It's really not unusual anymore.
Alexandra Allen is not just a producer.
Feeding the world is too important to just continue the status quo.
But also,
we kind of joke about that I'm a broccoli attorney.
And as it turns out, agriculture is quite high-tech and complex.
Of course, there are labor laws and water laws and land use laws.
Allen bets you too would be surprised by the diversity of jobs.
I have felt like the industry is looking for opportunities to give women a seat at the table.
But others don't exactly feel the same way.
The hardest part is getting a seat at the table.
Me ha tocado trabajar con hombres y les hemos ponido la muestra también a ellos de que también nosotros podemos trabajar.
Whether the job brings you to the boardroom or the fields, a change is happening in the world of agriculture. Women who appreciate food and where it comes from are paving the way unapologetically.
Hay veces que me como las uvas y digo, esto yo lo trabajé con mis manos.
I'm Isabel Rosales reporting.
Well, that's all the time we have this morning. Thank you for watching. For all of us at AgDay, I'm Tyne Morgan. Have a great day in Farm Country.